What?
Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's session episode. Emily's gone. She's just
I was
peaced out.
gonna say, where'd I go?
She's just gone. There she is. Okay, it's because I'm dumb and
Oh.
I minimized the window. Let's try that again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening's session of Cam and M Play D&D Sleeping Dragon's Wake. As always, this is one of the continuing adventures of Dourrebelle Boulderbane, following on from Dragon of Icespire Peak and Stormlord's Wrath. You can find the previous sessions of both of those campaigns over on my YouTube channel, which doesn't have a custom URL yet, but you can help with that by dropping a fat sub on it. Um, yeah, I'm joined as always by my lovely wife Emily, who will never get used to my jokes. Um,
But I think you're funny, so it's okay.
well, one of us has got to. Um, yeah, so yeah, I hope that you. Well, we both hope that you will enjoy this time with us today, as we continue on straight from last session. So I'm just gonna lunge right in there. Um, so after discovering that your brother Duradon had found himself being forced to work for an imposing name Sigurd, you followed him to make a delivery of various tools and materials for what looked strangely like building repairs. However, in the wake of that, you successfully convinced him to leave Duradon alone, though Sigurd claimed that the matter wasn't done. And a while after returning to the House of Stone, the House of Stone, that was the name that I've given it, just as the title of last week's episode. But the home of the Hearts of Stone. Your newest member, Sovendal, brought you back a present, who was an unconscious Argus Skeel, who was an undead creature who you've encountered once before during your last visit to Phandalin. So we start back up kind of at the house. Um, and we'll kind of cut forward a bit. So how would Dourrebelle have what would she have done with this unconscious kind of undead dude?
I imagine she would have been like, she probably would have said to have him tied up, but part of me thinks that she would take him outside of Leylon,
Okay, where would she take him?
be- just like just based on the map, like where we say her house is about is, she probably would have gone that northeast, like out that northeast
Just
path, I
gone
guess.
out the back entrance and
Yeah,
up that way. Okay, so kind of
yeah,
like down the road that leads towards Phandalin, basically.
yeah. She would have taken him out there, and is probably waiting for him to wake up.
Okay. So can you describe to me how when you say tied him up, can you describe in a bit more detail what you mean by that? Like how specifically have you secured him?
She probably would have used a rope to to bind his wrists and then tie his arms. Like tie around the torso. So he's like, so he can probably still use his legs, but he's not really gonna be able to
Okay.
do anything.
So it's like, yeah, so his arms are tied to his body and his wrists are tied together. So yeah, he's
Yeah,
pretty helpless. Okay. Um
behind his back.
okay. Who is coming with you?
Um, well, if Sovin was feeling better, he can come. Like if he's feeling up for it, he can come with. I don't know where Quinn is.
Quinn's with you. Oh,
So,
would he have gone to bed? He didn't really take any damage, so he'd be about. You can
well, I
grab him
mean,
and have him come along.
well, when I think about the time of it, because I'm trying to think of what happened. Because Duradon went to go wherever he sleeps, and Quinn and Belle went home.
Yeah, and
And I
then
know
there was
that
a
Belle,
gap.
and I know Belle's, yeah, she stayed up.
Yeah, there was a
But I
gap of a couple of
imagine,
hours.
yeah, I think maybe
I
Um,
think what would happen is that maybe Dourrebelle would check and see if Quinn was awake,
and
and
if he's
if
not, then she'd leave
yeah,
him.
but if Quinn is awake, which we'll say he is, or is easily woken up, Sovendal would elect to remain at the house to tend to his wounds because he was pretty messed up,
Yeah.
and considering
Okay.
he's considering Argus is bound, he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why there needs to be more than the pair of you there.
Yeah. Okay. So Quinn and I will drag him out to the outskirts
Okay,
on the northeast side.
all right. So you drag him out to the north, and you maybe like prop him up against a tree or something,
Yeah.
kind of like sat down against it, and you wait for a little bit for him to wake up, and Quinn ultimately loses his patience and kind of walks over and is like, "Oi, oi," and starts like slapping him about, which does eventually rouse him. So he kind of lulls his head back and bonks it against the tree. You kind of hear this like, as like kind of behind his scraggly hair that comes down over his face, you see like the glimmer of undeath in his eyes as he looks up at Quinn. And Quinn just kind of grins and goes, "Hello. Looks like you've got some explaining to do." And then he kind of gives him a swift kick in the side before letting you take over the situation. Argus just kind of slowly raises his head to look up at you and just kind of goes,
Well, I thought I'd never see you again. What do you want?
say anything. He's just looking at you, kind of with this very very weak smirk on his face.
Just remind me, what was his faction again? Was it
So
related
you,
to the attack on the wayside? The first attack?
the very first one, possibly you, yeah, I believe that when you were in Fandolin, you gathered that he was affiliated with Merkul because he mentioned Merkul's name, I think. So
Yeah.
you connected him to the attack on the wayside.
Um, I guess Dourrebelle would just say, despite despite you being affiliated with Mercule, I've no reason to believe I have earned any ire that he would send. I mean, I never got to ask you guys, never got to ask about it before, but I'm not sure exactly why it is you are targeting me.
Targeting you? It was your agent that attacked me!
My agent?
The drow. I was just watching.
Why?
Um, he just like shakes his head and looks up at you again, and doesn't say anything about apart from death is coming.
Mercule is god of undeath, right?
Death,
Of just death,
but it
okay.
kind of
Yeah.
people who've yeah, it's like the control and the mastery of death. As far as I understand, we can well make a history check or make a religion check. Seems like a good enough time for one of those.
Well, it doesn't matter no matter what. I mean,
Don't keep us in suspense.
I rolled a natural 1.
What's the total, though?
1.
Okay.
You said religion, so I don't have any bonuses in religion. A cleric who doesn't have bonuses in religion.
You would only know that because there'd be obvious things that you would know through your training and stuff. So yeah, he's essentially the god of like death, decay, old age, exhaustion, dusk, and the autumn. He is the god of ending things and hopelessness.
Ooh.
And generally, people tend to follow him in the hopes of overcoming those things, kind of winning his favor so they can prolong their lives or stave off some sort of ruin.
So like matey boy here who's an undead.
Yeah.
Well, you can either answer my questions and we go from there, or I could just deal with you now. And that be the end of that.
Make an intimidation check.
Oh, ooh, that's much better. Oh my god, why did I have +4 in intimidation?
It's because you're proficient in it, I think.
I am, but why am I proficient in it?
Well, you would have selected it.
No, I know, I'm just retroactively wondering why I picked
Because
that.
it's Dourrebelle.
22.
Jesus, okay. He twitches a little bit. And just says, well, what is it that you want to know specifically?
Well, I guess I want to go back a little bit and wonder why you were after me in Phandalin.
I wasn't. It was the girl.
You were... Oh, I forgot her name.
Valine.
Why were you after Valine?
I was ordered to stand guard in Phandalin and organize and collect my master's forces. That's when I detected Valine's activity and the activities of the cult of Talos, which my master was not pleased with. Their activity is directly opposed to what we're trying to achieve.
And what are you trying to achieve?
Control. I don't know. I don't know my master's end goals. You put the kibosh on any kind of advancement that I was hoping for within the ranks when you made a complete and utter fool out of me and drove me out of town. Needless to say, I've been waiting for an opportunity to get even. I was hoping that Sigurd would provide that opportunity, but alas not.
So you know this Sigurd. Do you know his affiliations?
Just human trash. Collected together with a grouping of similar refuse that call themselves the Chimera Crew. For one reason or another, my master has decided that they are worthy of aiding our cause and is paying them a handsome sum to watch over some of his exploits, his works. I was reticent to return to him in such disgrace, So I merely attached myself to them and bided my time, knowing that you would turn up eventually.
Well, I suppose it wasn't more so. It was more so they came to me. I wasn't particularly looking for them until they got my brother involved.
Your brother is doomed.
Why do you say that?
You're all doomed. Death is coming.
Death comes for everyone, but it isn't going to come. Not if I have anything to do about it. It isn't coming anytime soon.
He just kind of like starts chuckling to himself and drops his head down, shakes kind of the wispy strands of his hair, kind of jiggle a little bit.
Yeah.
Foolish mortal. The forces of Talos is one thing, but what you're dealing with now is completely separate and elevated from that.
Then I appreciate the heads up.
And what will you do with that appreciation, huh?
What do you think I'm going to do with it?
Put me to the sword or the axe? I suppose that is much more fitting for you.
I could. But I suppose you would rather see this that I let you go so that you can go back to Mercule and hope to get me another day.
And how would that benefit you?
It wouldn't. I'm just assuming that's what you want.
Well, what I want is immaterial. I'm bound and sat on at the base of a tree, completely at your mercy, with your gestures over to Quinn, like nods over with your rabid dog waiting in the wings to tear my head off. Quinn like looks over his shoulder to see what he's talking about.
See, I've been trying this new thing, and it's called listening to people before I murder them. So that's what I'm trying to do here.
Well, I've said
I
all that
guess
I have to say
gain
to
more
you.
whisper. And I know that oh yeah, because he was scared away by the spell. Of course he's an undead.
Yeah, you turn undeaded him, and he liked it.
Yeah, that's right. I'm assuming. I'm going to assume that Moradin probably doesn't care much about the undead.
Not particularly.
Yeah.
I mean, the creation and kind of perpetuation of kind of necromancy and undeath is widely regarded as an act of evil.
Mm-hmm.
So Moradin being a good aligned god, you would imagine would frown on it, and kind of the way that you've been taught, kind of through your upbringing as an acolyte of Moradin. It's not really. He doesn't have like specific like you must not create undead, and if you deal with undead, you're bad or anything like that. But it does kind of laugh in the face of the natural order of things, and yeah, it doesn't sit right with kind of you and the things that you've been taught. Like
Right.
Moradin values kind of creating things within, using your lifetime as a means to create a legacy that will endure beyond the end of your life. So if you were to somehow cheat death and extend your own life, it sort of spits in the face of everything he hopes for his children.
Right, okay.
You know, it's you create things so that your descendants can appreciate it, not
Mhm.
so that you yourself can necessarily benefit from it. I mean, obviously you would, but
Yeah.
part of it is about creating things that extend beyond you.
Why do you follow Mercule?
Power to avoid death, to have a chance.
There's chance of what?
Ironically, life. You wouldn't understand.
I'm gonna insight check him.
Okay. What are you insight checking specifically?
How honest he's being about what he's saying in terms of, or just kind of what the impression I get when he says that, when he says,
Okay.
I want a chance at life. I got a 15 total.
Um, he's not lying. Like there is, you can tell that he's being genuine in what he's saying. Can't quite. There's a look in his eyes of a sort of disregard for whatever he had in the past or whatever he was in the past. Not important to him. So to him, like this is all he knows. This is all he is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about why he chose to follow Merkul. He's kind of you get the impression that that was something that he abandoned a long time ago.
So he abandoned. So I get the impression he abandoned whatever his old life was for something new.
Yes.
Okay.
And you get the
Sorry.
impression just based on what he was saying and the way he was saying it that whatever he was when he was alive, it wasn't good. Like, and him saying, like, kind of ironically, serving in death at a new chance of life is because, like, he seems to be of the impression that whatever he's doing now is better than what he had before. Like, this is closer to living a life than before.
Oh my god. I'm actually having a conflict now, an internal conflict, a little bit. Because I guess there's something ironic about being a cleric of life and listening to him say that, like him him basically saying he wanted a new lease on life, whatever it
However,
ended up being.
but his new lease on life involves
Killing
shepherding
people.
around the undead and killing
Yeah.
people in the name of a god of death. So that there's immediately a conflict there.
Yeah.
Like if you let him go, what is he going to do? Like what is he going to be responsible for?
Well, that's the thing. Um Dourrebelle is going to take her axe in hand, and she's going to look at him. She's going to look him in the eye, and she's going to say that I'm sorry that it ended up being this way then. Whether you believe me or not, sincerely how I feel in this moment.
He looks up at you and kind of readies himself, I suppose. Um,
Yeah.
and just says, "It doesn't matter. I'd failed in my task anyway. It was only a matter of time before Uloran figured that out. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you're dead, and your friend is dead, your brother's dead, you're all dead. So regardless of whether you kill me or not, the result will be the same. I welcome it."
She will just, if he's sort of readied himself, then she will take the presentation. Yeah, she'll two-hand her axe and just right into the tree, basically.
I'm not gonna make you roll or anything. You just swift motion, and it's over. Quinn looks a little bit disappointed.
Raring for a fight.
So, now what?
Well, we should bring him off the path. We can take our rope back.
Yeah. I wasn't about to suggest we leave random dead guy in the street. I mean more about what are we going to do about what he said.
We're going to have to talk to the council tomorrow. We need to talk to them anyways about what happened with my brother, because, I mean, because of what was going on with it anyways, but now that it's tied into something else.
Right.
So they need to know as soon as... It's like in the middle of the night, so yeah. As soon as we get up.
It's practically midnight at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. So go on, describe how you're going to deal with this.
With the body?
Yeah.
Well, I'll get my rope. I'll get all my rope back, and then take his head and his body and kind of drag him into the trees, in the thick of it. Maybe find a spot where he can lay flat, and just put his head where it should be.
Okay, so for all intents and purposes, a fairly respectful.
Yeah.
Pop him down. Okay. And he does seem to... You can see, already, it's not been very long, but he is starting to decay already, quite rapidly. Yeah.
Which I'm assuming is a side effect of whatever was sustaining him.
As essence of undeath is leaving him.
Yeah.
Nature is getting to work.
Yeah. And then we will go to bed. I'll check in on Sovendal.
Well, he's you go back in. Sovendal is passed the fuck out.
Well, then I'll leave him be.
You peer into the stable, and he's just cloak overhead,
Well, I mean, he seems to be doing better, so I'll leave him to it, and then just get up early as possible to go see Griselda.
So you're specifically going to go and see Griselda, okay?
Well, I mean, she's sort of the go-to, but I also figured that by going to her, she could rustle the others together. We could talk about it.
Okay, so explain to me what you're going to do specifically.
I'm going to get up, and then I'm going to go find her, and I'm going to tell her. I'll give her the gist of it, of sort of what happened, just a quick run through.
Okay.
And just ask her if she thinks we should get the others. We'll get the other council people.
What are you telling her? What do you know about what's going on?
Well, I'm gonna tell her that Dourrebelle got caught up with that Sigurd and some others, and that it's tied into this cult of Mercule. I don't know if you'd call it a cult, but and that at least the Sigurd has been frequenting town enough that they're getting some supplies, and that whatever they're preparing for is not gonna be pretty, potentially.
She sighs and kind of thinks to herself, and so I don't recognize the name. Do you know anything else about the group that he was attached to?
Um, is it Uthander? No, I'm like asking you, the DM, if that was the name.
Eh?
The guy's name, the one that he kept mentioning.
Who are we talking about now?
Cause you
Are you
cause
talking
you
about
asked
Sigurd? Are you talking about Sigurd, or are you talking about um, Argus?
Argus. The guy Argus was mentioning.
Okay,
I was trying to remember what his name
that's
was because he
Ulleran.
kept saying it's Ulleran.
Yeah,
So that's what I want to mention, that he's connected to this person named Ulleran.
that
Uh,
that name
and
doesn't mean
she's gonna
anything
say
to
that
me.
she well, it doesn't mean anything now, but it's something I'm gonna start looking into. But I wanted to bring it to attention in case I don't want others to get caught up similarly to how my brother did.
When so speaking about Sigurd specifically, um, more so than Ulleran, um, Argus mentioned the Chimera crew,
Yeah,
which is
that was the
the
name.
group
Yeah,
that he works for, which might be a bit more of that's a stronger lead than
yeah,
some dude that nobody knows who he is. Um, so if you mentioned that to her,
yeah. I
she
would. Yeah,
yeah she would say, right, okay, that's a name I've heard of. They're then they're basically a group that have been harassing travelers coming up and down past the Mere of Dead Men for a while. Um, but no one's really been able to do anything about them because they're they're quite good, and
mm.
obviously they haven't, obviously, apart from this one particular person who doesn't seem to have done anything in town to provoke any kind of retaliation until now. They've not done anything, and we can't spare the forces from Leylon to go and do anything about it. So, however, if this is the case, then maybe we need to investigate it further.
Yeah. I was planning on investigating it further. It was my intention was to bring it to the attention of the group, just because if they're if they're bold enough to get people who are in town and try to wrangle him into whatever scheme they've got, like they did with my brother, it's something, I guess.
Well, I appreciate you doing that, Dourrebelle, but I don't. I'm not really sure what you expect us to do in response. We're kind of at capacity already with everything else that we're doing. This is part of the reason why I asked you to form the Hearts of Stone.
The All I really wanted to do was make you aware to potentially keep any eyes out for anything that comes up. Like I'm planning on investigating this further, and that's fine. I just thought it was important enough to share that this was something happening instead of just investigating and something happening. And the last thing I would want is something to happen when I'm potentially not here and you guys are completely unprepared for it.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right. Well, as I said, they operate mainly around the Mere of Dead Men, so that might be a good place to start. Um, See what you can find out. If this is related to the Chimera crew, we've already had several complaints about their operations, so I can speak with the others and see if we can't drum up some sort of reward for you doing this as well. I'm not going to expect you to do this for free.
Well, I mean, I would, but thank you anyways.
I know you
I will
would, and
let
that's
you.
I know you would, and that's why I'm telling you we will pay you, and I won't accept anything else.
I will let you know when I find any leads.
Good. I'll see you
And
later.
then later, and I'll leave her be. Um, and I would like to go find my brother.
All right. I mean, he's not difficult to find. With it being early morning, he's probably still at uh, the settlers' camp, kind of gathering his things and getting ready to go to work for the day.
Yeah. Uh, maybe I'll meet him outside to walk and talk.
Okay.
Um,
He sort of looks a bit dejected and kind of like, you know, sister came to the rescue sort of thing.
I just wanted to ask you about how you got mixed up with those guys.
Well, I told you. We did that job, the pair of us, you were there. We did that job for Sigurd,
Oh, that's right. Yes, and
repairing the cart, and then it was after that that he came back a couple of times and started asking for kind of supplies and stuff like that. Like he said that a wall had broken and he needed wood and tools to repair it, and then he started asking for things like chains and padlocks and all this kind of stuff, and it was getting more and more um, time consuming, the amount of things that he wanted. Um, and yeah, when it came around to asking for payment, that's when he started becoming violent.
do you know if he's been talking with anybody else in town?
I have no idea. Not that I'm aware of.
Right. Just getting some, trying to gather some leads. I mean, I do have one idea, but I don't entirely know what his group are up to. But
But
whatever it is, it isn't good. It never is. But
what are you talking about?
well, he's part of. Have you heard of the Chimera crew?
Well, he mentioned it yesterday.
Do you know much about it?
No,
About them at all?
all I know is I just saw him and a couple of the people that work with him. I mean, they were all wearing that kind of symbol, the sort of three different coloured. Um, they were like little diamonds that kind of fan out. Um, he's like, no, I don't know.
Well, they're bad. They're
Well, I could have told you
no,
that.
they're potentially worse than we thought.
Why?
Well, it sounds like they're a cult, but a cult for a different deity.
What? But what would they
Uh,
want with bloody padlocks and wood beams? I don't get it.
they're probably um, building some sort of. I mean, they have to be operating out of somewhere, right? So they must have been getting these supplies for to either reinforce or make bigger or stronger whatever it is that they were working on. If it escalated from just simple things like wood and nails to like chains and stuff, it sounds very much like they're building a stronghold. They've been harassing people outside, the travelers along the road, so uh, there's an amount of stuff we don't know what they've got now because you were giving them building supplies, but they could have been potentially taking anything from any of the travelers. I might go to the markets and see if anyone's had any encounters between wherever they've come from and here.
Right. Well, I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful. I was really just focusing on either trying to get what they owed me or just getting them to stop harassing me.
No, you're fine.
All I know is that they always came from the south of town.
So they must be somewhere near Dead, must be beyond or somewhere along Dead Man's Mere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they're dumb enough to come back, you know what to do.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, thank you. I'll let you get on with your work.
Kind of hoists up a like a kind of a bag full of stuff similar to the one that he had yesterday, and
Mm-hmm.
starts making his way off towards town.
Um, I guess I will do what I said. I'm gonna go to where there's like the town square and see if I can find any. Maybe because there's like an entrance that's by that south road. I guess I want to kind of be by there and see if I can stop, potentially flag anybody down who's come in or
Okay.
has come out and like just ask around.
Make an investigation check to kind of represent you asking several folks around the area.
10.
10. Unfortunately, your investigative skills, when they're directly tied in with your social skills, don't really seem to drum up much in the way of
No.
results. Um, you don't really glean much. Um, People just don't. Well, bandits are a constant threat when you're traveling along the road. Um, would you mention like undead at any point, or would it just be focused on the bandit attacks?
Um, she would say that she would ask if she would say that there's potential there's this group might be tied with the undead sort of thing.
Yeah, no one's seen anything of like that. I think maybe Dourrebelle kind of stumbles into it a little bit, and as soon as she starts mentioning the undead, people are like, "Whoa, what?" um, and get a bit cagey. But no one that you speak to, can claim that they've seen any undead at all.
Right. I am gonna go find Sovin
Okay.
if he's awake.
Yeah, he's about. Um, Feeling much better now. He's probably busying himself with a book or something along those lines. Maybe playing with a knife, just distracting himself somehow. He's got his cloak like up over his face because even though he's indoors, sunlight is still kind of coming in through the windows, and he doesn't want to. He just can't be bothered with that shit.
He doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's killing his vibe.
Okay. I'm going to not sit, but I'm gonna kind of come round so he knows that I'm there and just
How did it go? I assume you
well,
dealt with
so
him.
yes, he's dead. Um, Sounds like this Chimera crew that was giving my brother problems is tied in with this cult of Mercule. I don't know what they're up to yet,
Well,
but
didn't you
based
get? Didn't
on
you? Didn't you extract that information from the captive that I secured?
he wasn't all he didn't really say what he didn't say what they were up to. He just said that they were they wanted power. They because and Dourrebelle would explain that she initially met this guy in Phandalin, during that fight, and like he was in Phandalin trying to gather forces, and Dourrebelle accidentally dealt with it,
Mhm.
and that he was back down here because he was hoping that by being with the cult or being with the Chimera crew, we would cross paths so that he could get back at me and get back in his god's favors. But it sounds like Mercule was already interested in the Chimera crew anyways and is paying them to, oh my god, he's paying them a hefty sum for something.
You're talking of Makul as if the god itself is acting. I assume that's a you're paraphrasing.
I am just saying as he told it to me.
But it was extremely vague. Did you try torturing him?
Dourrebelle just looks at him like, do I really look like somebody who's going to torture
And he
somebody?
looks back like, well, it's a very effective means of getting information out of prisoners. As if it's like, duh.
No, I
Well,
didn't.
and you killed him without any kind of clarification on these very vague points that you've given me. What a waste.
I'm just going to pretend you didn't say that. In any
And
case,
he furrows his brow like, I didn't even say anything. Like, why are you? He looks really confused. Like, why are you offended? I just asked a normal question, and you're the one getting leery at me.
most don't take too kind. Like, I don't believe Moradin would look favorably on me if I tortured somebody, whether they were undead or otherwise.
I'm sure he doesn't look favorably at the actions of this Merkul or Chimera crew or whoever. Look, I realise that our morals maybe aren't exactly aligned, but I find it difficult to understand why you would take the path that results in the least amount of pain. Putting one undead creature through some amount of agony in order to potentially save many others, I think is a fair trade.
That's fair, but it's not something I'm comfortable with.
Well, I hope that's worth it to you.
Regardless, um, we need to investigate this Chimera crew further, especially now as I've apparently earned their ire. Not even apparently, I have earned their ire, and they'll be back at some point, and we need to figure out what they're up to before whatever potential retaliation comes. Based on what my brother was um, giving them, I believe they have either built or have been reinforcing some sort of base of operations along the road of the south. Maybe they're in Dead Man's Mirror, but yes, we need to figure out where they are. And
Sovendal's internal monologue would be, you wouldn't have to suppose this. You would know this if you just tortured the guy. Um,
and
so you
this
kind
is
of
why
there's this
this
kind
is
of
why Dourrebelle's the guild leader.
yeah. He like rolls his eye. He rolls his eyes kind of in his head a little bit as he thinks that, and says, "All right, well, if this has nothing to do with the cult of Talos, then I'm not particularly interested. But what would you have me do?"
I know it's not exactly what you're looking for, but if you could find out even where they are, where they're operating from, that would be a great benefit.
Well, you said it yourself, didn't you? You believe them to be operating out of the Mere of Dead Men.
Yes, but I meant if you could actually find it.
Well, I'm just going to go there. I can only work from the leads you give me.
Well, because those are the only leads I
This
have.
whole leadership thing is new to you, isn't it?
What gave it away? I
Mm,
didn't
maybe your mild ineptitude.
look. I didn't want to be in this. I didn't want. She just kind of grumbles and walks away a little bit, kind of maybe rubs her face a bit, and it's just like, look, okay, I'm shit at this, right? But I'm trying to make it work.
It sounds like you need to go to the Mere. If that's where they're operating from, and where the attacks are supposedly happening, then that's where you need to go. I can go on your behalf and gather intelligence. I'm happy to do that. But it sounds like you want to strike while the iron's hot. I don't know what an iron is. This is fantasy. But I'm saying it anyway.
That's
Oh,
not
I
fantasy.
suppose no, because it's talking about hot
Yeah,
irons, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of
yeah.
a smoothie.
um, I would like to strike when the iron's hot, but I don't want to run in there without any idea what is in what I'm walking into. I know I do that quite a bit, but um, if you could gather intelligence, that would make it a lot easier, a lot better.
Such as, I could tell you
Um,
their numbers, their location.
how many there are?
What are you gonna do in the meantime? I'm here to assist. I'm not here to do all of your legwork for you.
I'd like to try and find some more information on this Mercule. I was going to see if there was anything I could find around here, maybe um, the I'm going to do some information looking for around here. I just want to see if I can gather anything regarding Mercule or this Chimera crew, whatever they're called.
Very well. I may be gone for a couple of days. I hope you understand that.
I understand.
I'm not like you. I can't just information gathering is a little bit more delicate than just wading in and facing whatever happens head on, a la the Thundercliffs. Need a lighter
Yeah,
touch.
well, I mean, what was that?
It needs a lighter touch. Not that I don't appreciate you wading in, axe at the ready. Of course, it's for that very reason that I owe you my life. But I'm not sure what your expectations are.
Even if you could just find me, even if you could just tell me exactly where it is and a rough estimate of how many people you can see moving in and out of it, I would be happy with just that.
Very well. I'll leave it dusk.
All right. I'm going to go out and see if I hear anything else unusual while I'm looking for information.
Okay. Nothing particularly unusual, unless you're going to speak to someone specifically.
Um, no. Well, I mean, one thought I had is going to Torver's post and see if he's heard anything. Because I mean, he's a trading post. I'm curious if he's heard any specific rumors about the
You're
traveling on the South
you're
Road.
probably not going to get much more than Griselda's already told you, which is the
Hmm.
crew are known to attack people on that road. Um, and yeah, like Jack would say, it's pretty much the same as the merchants say, which is it is unfortunately a hazard that if you want to make some money as a traveling merchant, it's something that you need to insure against and make preparations for. I mean, they're known for being um, particularly ferocious, but not in any way that separates them. Like the people that are within their ranks tend to be like they're not like uh, scallywags from an impoverished town that have turned to brigandry or something like that. Like they are trained combatants. Um,
Hmm.
so they are particularly difficult to deal with. Um, most folks generally have a cache of funds that they put to one side to try and bribe their way out of something more bloody or more harmful.
Hmm.
Whether they do or whether they don't, it's kind of a toss of a coin. But like the point is you're unlikely to gather any new information about the Chimera crew than what you've already accumulated.
Well, then, is there any way I can find anything out about Mercule or
Well, you have a
anything
couple of
further beyond what I know?
so there are a couple of shrines in town that you're aware of. You could go and speak to
Yeah.
Marigold and see if he knows anything. You could go and speak to Puck and see if he knows anything.
Let's go speak to Marigold.
Okay. So you head to the shrine of Lathander,
Mm.
um, and it's kind of again you've reached that point of the day now where the last time you saw him it was kind of early morning and he was like preparing for all the morning rites and kind of the basic welcoming the day ceremony. That time has kind of passed now in the time that you've been speaking to Griselda and Jack and Sovendal and everyone. So he's just kind of tending to the shrine, maybe like lighting some incense and
Yeah.
just doing his thing. And you go in and you get his attention. He's just like, ah, Dourrebelle, it's I've seen you pass by a couple of times, but it's rare that you actually step foot inside the shrine.
Yeah, I apologize that I've not actually had a chance to come come in properly. Um, it's always been busy, I guess.
No, I completely understand. Don't
um, I just I don't know as much as I would like. I was hoping if you had any knowledge of um, Mercule, you could share with me.
Okay. Um, go ahead and actually no, I'll do it. It's fine. We'll see what he knows. He rolled well.
I'm just gonna curiously roll a percentage to see what's the percentage of him knowing. 9%.
Um, he looks a little bit taken aback for a moment, and just kind of quietly asks, "Why? Why do you need to know about McCool?"
I believe that um, he has a group of followers that are up to something. I dealt with one of them last night, and they seem to have ties with this bandit group called the Chimera Crew, but I'm not sure what they could be up to. I don't know much about Merkul beyond, you know, that he is the being of death and the end. His follower just said that death was coming, and I'm not sure what he could mean by that. So I'm trying to nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem.
I understand. It's difficult to say. They say that Merkul was mortal once, and is one of the rare tales of such a person who ascended to godhood, as has been recounted in tales of the past. Folks don't tend to worship Merkul, more so than fear him, as one would fear death.
Right.
But
And
then
I wonder
again,
what
saying that there are beings out there that are of a particularly morose nature and may wish to evoke the name of such a deity to spread misery and decay and other such nastiness.
this follower I spoke to said that it was he was in the area. He was initially in Phandalin. He was trying to gather forces so they could gain power. Um, if I'm remembering right, he said it was his will, right? It was that he was willing this.
What do you mean?
Didn't did did he say that Merkul was willing, willing like he
Well,
wanted
yeah.
them to
So
get
Argus said that he was acting on the will of Merkul, but
yeah.
whether that actually means that or not, you don't know. Like, any cultist of Talos would tell you that they're acting on the will of Talos, but whether or not he actually was, you're unsure.
Yeah. I guess the difference is with Talos, a lot of the time it's been sort of what he wants, but anyways, I digress. She just says, yeah, he says that he was acting on his will, which I don't know how much of that is true, but we both know how zealous people can be when they think they're acting upon their deity's will.
Yes. Well, faith is very powerful. Indeed, I would feel that in another universe, as much as I don't want to consider it, you and I may be attached to different deities, driven by faith alone, and the circumstances of one's birth, development, events in our lives.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I don't think I could ever truly understand someone who would willingly worship a god as cold and distant as one such as Merkul, a reaper that claims ownership over the dead just by very nature of their existence.
Yes. I I am just concerned that um, perhaps these Chimera crew or whoever they are tied in with that is with Merkul have, I guess, become a little bit overzealous. Like like those who follow Talos, like some of those who follow Talos. I'm just concerned that they think that by bringing more dead, that they are winning favor. So I'm worried that,
I thought the
I
Chimera
mean,
crew were just. I mean, I've heard the name being thrown around. I thought they were just a group of brigands. A particularly,
no.
fearsome group of brigands, but.
Well, if what if what he was said is true, they're being paid to do it. So it could be that the Chimera crew don't worship Merkul, but they are aiding them.
Well, with a group like that, it's. They worship coin. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Right. Well, I feel like I have some idea of what to do next, but I need a little bit more information before I can really move.
Oh.
Whether I'll have time to get that information or not remains to be seen.
Very well. Well, good luck to you, Dourrebelle.
Thank you.
What are
And
you,
I
what are you
will
going to
leave
do
him.
now?
Dourrebelle's going to be frustrated.
Why is she first? Talk us through.
She feels like she's potentially making she feels like she's maybe putting stuff together that shouldn't be, or maybe is too worried about something, like making it worse than it actually is. Like she's worried that because of all of the shit she's dealt with, is she just jumping the gun, or does she have legitimate concern?
You going to do anything about
So
that?
she's gonna go get a drink.
Okay.
She's gonna ask Quinn what he thinks.
Okay. Quinn just kind of shrugs. I mean, he'll get a drink with you. Are you going to the inn, or are you just at home?
No, we'll go to the inn
Okay.
because it'll give an opportunity to listen out for anything.
All right. Quinn just kind of like shrugs and shakes his head. Dourrebelle, you know I don't buy into any of this. I respect you for what you do, and folks like Marigold and maybe less so that weird tall folk elven bloke.
Fuck.
But I what Dourrebelle, why are you questioning yourself? Who are you? What have you done with my friend? You're not wrong. You've changed. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but you've never questioned yourself this much before. You used to be once you got an idea in your head, I couldn't stop you. No one could. I think short of Moradin himself.
Maybe I've just been doing too much thinking.
You're a priest. Why don't you ask him? He says flippantly, blissfully unaware of the fact that you know commune now. Or at least I think you do. Do you have access to commune yet? I feel like you do.
Well, if I do, I don't. No, I do have commune.
Yeah, so he says it as a joke, but
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're having their drink, and Quinn says this, and Dourrebelle's just like, "That's a good idea." uh, I guess the difference is, Quinn, I feel like if I am too bullheaded about something, I feel like it's going to result in many, many more casualties than it could have been.
Look, the way that I see it, regardless of whether there's crazy undead things going on or not, there's a group of people who are making other people's lives miserable and like robbing them and stuff. You wouldn't stand for that anyway. So if it does turn out that there is some creepy undead cult bullshit weaved into it as well, why does that make any difference? You would act on it regardless.
Yeah. I mean, I planned on doing something about them regardless. Um,
Did did something about what happened yesterday bother you?
a little. Yeah.
He was just a dick. So I know you had a conversation with I've forgotten her name now. Is it Lenine in Fandolin, and you've been kind of questioning your morals ever since then. But sometimes someone's just a bad person, and sometimes it's better to just
Accept that.
be rid. I mean,
Yeah.
your uncle is a fine example of that. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but I've been feeling much better about myself knowing that he's dead.
No, that has been a very much needed weight lifted off of us. For sure. And it ended up being a lot worse. His designs ended up being a lot bigger than we even thought as well. The whole Sword Coast.
Yeah, he wanted to like take
Possess a
over a dragon's
dragon.
body and do this whole frozen empire thing. He was nuts.
Yeah, I don't really know where that came from. He was,
Say where it came from. He was a dick, and he was only interested in power. There are people out there that are only interested in power. I mean, like I train a lot. I'm fairly interested in power because I want to, you know, tell people who also want power but maybe want to use it for the wrong reasons to fuck off. It's all about doing the right thing. And if that guy yesterday was more than willing to throw away not only his humanity and his mortality and muster up some kind of undead army or whatever in the middle of Fandolin, a town that you went to significant effort to make sure didn't get wiped off the map. I think you were kind. Don't like is what Sovendal said bothering you? Because
he's not
he's clearly
wrong. I'm not
wired
very good at.
differently.
He's not wrong about me being a leader. I'm shit at it, but I mean, we all gotta learn somewhere, right?
Look, he's an asshole too, but I've got a little bit more time for him because he's helping us right now.
You really, I can't. I don't. I think it's the
If
circumstances
you think
that
that
he.
Sovendal
You really.
is going to leave Leylon without me punching him in the dick, then you're I don't know what planet you're on because it's not favoring.
Well, I mean, that aside, like, I know I've not known him long, but I suppose some people are just more willing to do some extreme things to get information. And I forget that sometimes.
I yeah, he's not all bad.
Well,
I
in
don't
any
trust it. I
case.
don't trust him. Let's get that. I'm squarely on Team Ricky with this. In that I'm kind of just biding my time and seeing what he does. But so far, I've got no reason to not take him at his word, apart from the fact that I think he's a bit of a dick.
As soon as any information about Talos comes up in those dealings, I'm sure he'll be a much better player. And I'm sure once all of that is dealt with, I imagine he will leave, which I'm not going to force him to stay. I'm not going to.
Well, this is the important thing though. Like I've said what I think, but you're the boss, and this is kind of even more solidified now. You say you're not a good leader, but you've led me all this time, and look how far we've got. What do you think of him?
I think uh, he's hard to trust, and it's not because he is a drow. It is because he was a follower of Talos.
Yeah, it's a pretty one way street to getting in your bad books.
And there isn't anything to say that people don't, you know, stop following some deities and start worshiping others, or even don't worship any. You know, I'm reticent to believe that that's the case at the moment. I have I will not lie. I carry a suspicion that if Talos were to tell him right now, you have earned, you know, I will let you back in. You know, I want you to be I want you on my team, basically, and I'll give you all this stuff and deal with those who in my following who have wronged you if you turn around and kill her. I don't know. There's a part of me that wonders if he would listen to Talos or not.
Could ask
Um,
him. You seem to be on the let's ask everyone everything train today. Why
do you
not?
think he would answer honestly?
It's worth giving him a chance. He either answers you honestly or he doesn't.
I guess
Maybe maybe you'll learn more about him.
maybe. I guess I don't want to feel like he is any more targeted than he already is. I don't want to put. Maybe I will ask him later when he's come back from his scouting.
The big drink. Goes, yeah, well, if we're gonna work as a team, we should try and at least pretend like we're capable of doing that.
Well, the first step of getting good at anything is faking it, right?
Exactly. You fake it until you feel like you're kind of good at it. And then you just continue to be kind of good at it. And get better at faking being pretty good at it.
Is that what you do?
No, I'm just amazing at everything.
Dourrebelle's like, I knew he was gonna say that.
You walked into that one.
Oh no, she knew. She was just wondering if he would just straight up say it. But so Dourrebelle's gonna finish her drink and kind of I guess, idly keep her ears open if she hears anything. And she's gonna go back and she's going to go up to her room to commune.
Okay. So that's a ritual, isn't it? So why don't you take us
It
through
is.
the motions of how she sets up for it and what she does
Well,
while I
she's
look up the
got.
wording of commune.
It's okay. Well, she's sort of got a little private shrine to Moradin in her room already. So I imagine, uh, in preparation for such a moment, she probably bought extra candles, probably bought some spare incense that that's like stays in the room. Or she's just got like a supply in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she's gonna like set them up and um there was something I was gonna do, but I don't have enough time for it. But in any case, she is she's gonna she'll set the candles up around the shrine. Maybe she'll set some in like a circle, like just a fate outline of a circle around where she's like sitting. She's going to hold her symbol but she's also got the ring on and she's gonna hold them like she's gonna hold the symbol in the hand that has the ring on and she's going to basically offer prayer and beseech, basically ask if you will listen to her questions.
So you set everything up. One sec.
That's all right.
Excuse me. You set everything up and kind of prepare yourself. Close your eyes and focus and make a prayer as you cast this spell. So you take kind of 10 minutes setting everything up. And as you complete the spell and your eyes are closed and you're in darkness, you can smell the incense. As you take a deep breath, the smell of the incense kind of, you feel a warmth in your chest, kind of like it's, I would say soothing, but it's kind of not. It's like when you breathe in hot air, kind of how that feels.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
like you're in a particularly like hot and stuffy place,
Or
and
a
the smell of
forge.
the incense kind of, you start to pick up a smell of iron and metal that kind of mixes in. It's okay. You kind of hold that, and then you feel your consciousness being pulled away from the house, and without even opening your eyes, you're kind of conscious of where you are, and you can hear the sound of hammers hitting metal, like the constant like ding, ding, but like really loud and forceful, and there's loads of them, kind of in a rhythmic thrumming almost that go like up and down from where you're
Yeah,
standing. And as you kind of, your eyes are still closed in the real world, but where you
yeah,
are now, you open your eyes and you find yourself in a fire lit, or like a flame, not fire lit, but like a flame lit corridor, essentially like this wide, massive chamber that's long and goes all the way down. And kind of at either side of you, on these raised platforms made of this like beautiful, intricate stone and metal kind of platforms and structures, are they look like dwarves, kind of in stature, but they're massive and they're completely covered from head to toe in armor. You can't see their faces, and they're just diligently working, like constantly making stuff. Like you see one of them like pick up this like huge sword, kind of inspect it for a moment, and then dip it in a thing of water next to it, and then
yeah,
pull it out, put it to one side, and start getting to work on another thing. And you instinctively know what you need to do. You start moving slowly down the corridor. None of them pay any attention to you. They're just kind of laser focused on what they're doing and diligently working um, as you make your way down, until eventually you are faced at the very end of this corridor a single massive forge that just completely dwarfs, pardon the pun, you, the creatures to the side of you, everything. And sat facing you over a huge anvil is another one of these creatures. The armor is much more intricate, and you can see like its beard spilling out from underneath this helmet that covers its facial features. But it's like beautifully decorated with these like intricate like rings and kind of adornments that make it up and break it into sections. But then it like recollects at the end, and it's this massive, fantastic beard, kind of like Solus from 14, like actual
Yeah,
Solus, old man.
old
Um,
man Solus. Yeah.
and it's funny, like you can't see what this particular creature is working on, because the forge is too high
Yeah.
up. Whatever it is, it seems to be quite small though. Like whatever it's doing some fairly delicate work. Kind of like the giant the giant blacksmith from Dark Souls, just kind of
Strong I
dinking away at
am.
something. But as you stand there, you know that it's aware of your presence, and you know who this is. Like
Mm.
this is Moradin, or at least some avatar of Moradin
Yeah.
who you've come to visit. And everyone else carries on working, but this avatar stops, and kind of you see them slowly, kind of like pick up whatever they were working on and move it to one side, place it down, and then one arm, like massive, like gauntleted arm, slowly reaches over and plants itself down on the forge, and slowly like leans over to look down at you, and
Yeah.
kind of watches you, um, with a kind of interested, like intrigued and um, pleasant, like kind of like, oh, what have we got here then, sort of thing. Like they
Yeah.
nothing threatening about it. The only thing that's threatening about it is the way that it looks, kind of the imposingness of it. But
Yeah. Well, if
there's an eagerness and an interest from the way that this creature is leaning over the forge, as they look down at you.
well, I mean, to say that Dourrebelle isn't intimidated would be a lie. She is feeling a little I mean, this is the first time she's ever done something like
Yeah, well,
this.
this is the first time that like people have told stories about, what they think Moradin looks like, and this room that you're in. Like you've heard stories of it before, and it's just basically like a grand hall where work is done, um,
Yeah.
and it's like, people. The more that you kind of like your mind clears about where you are, you realize that like these people that are working like down the sides, these are your ancestors, like
Mhm.
your far removed
Yeah.
ancestors, um, that have kind of been greeted into this hall to work alongside the All Father forever,
Yeah.
and that's like the grandest honor that any
Yeah.
dwarf
Yeah.
could aspire to, and you're
Yeah.
here.
So she's yeah, and
You've
she's a
been
bit
welcomed in
like
as a guest.
she's a yeah, so she's a little bit intimidated, a little bit starstruck, kind of like I guess it was one of those things she didn't know what to expect. So to see all of this, it's just like
I want to point out one detail, just as a something that's popped into my head that I remembered. The thing that he's working on, as he moved it to one side, you do get a small glimpse of it as he moves it to one side. It's It's difficult to kind of describe. It's like a it's made of it seems to be made of stone, whatever it is, and it's like a semicircle, almost like a bowl, but it's very round, like perfectly round.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like inscribed with like it's not done, but you can see like it's unfinished and needs some like polish or whatever, and sanding down. And there's like incomplete runes, and yeah, it's quite large. Um, Probably about I want to say like 5 foot circumference,
That's a
diameter.
big bowl.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's just what he puts to one side. Yeah.
So I've got 3 questions, right, that I
Yes.
can ask,
And
and they have to be
I have
yes
to
or
answer
no.
yes or no,
Um,
or some approximation thereof.
Now this is the hard part, is I was so engrossed in your description that I didn't have any time to think about my
I've been
questions.
waiting for this moment and thinking about how it would play
Um, is is what is happening with the Chimera crew the will of Mercule? She basically wants to know if Mercule is actually doing it or if it's not,
out. Doing what though? Can you be a bit more
Um,
specific in your question?
okay.
I think Moradin kind of looks at you like what? Kind of tilts his head to one side.
Okay, no. So better question, I guess. Is Mercule actively seeking to grow his power along the Sword Coast?
I'm just trying to think of like how he would answer. I mean, yes or no, but I mean like
Yeah.
um, there's like a moment's pause, um, and the sound of like work that surrounds you and is echoing through the halls gets louder. Um,
Mhm.
and there's like an increased energy and pacing of what's going on, and the avatar that sits before you just gives kind of like a grim nod.
Oh shit. Okay. Um are the Chimera crew his harbingers for whatever is coming?
Uh, there's as, Everything kind of calms down and goes back to a normal rate. And as you finish asking this question, there's like a almost like an off tone, like a as everyone turns to look in the direction of one particular ancestor that looks down and kind of picks up a weapon that's split in two, like it's been
Oh shit.
overworked,
Yeah.
and they just kind of put it away. Um, and in response to that, Moradin shakes his head.
So the Chimera crew is working under the cult, but not. So it is just for money and not for any. Does Talos have a stake in what's to come?
Moradin leans back, kind of still with his eyes on you, or you assume so anyway. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
like leans back into the forge, and the sound kind of gets louder again and sort of begins to crescendo. In a way, it kind of sounds like a bit of a storm in here at the moment with everything that's going on, and there's like a big nod.
Okay. Right.
Um, yeah, and with that, he kind of gives you a
A wave?
raises an arm in like a wave to be like, okay, bye, and then goes back and picks up this bowl thing, whatever it is that he was working on, and kind of diverts his attention away from you and back to what he was doing. So it's like a not entirely dismissive, but it's like, right, I got to get back to work now.
Yeah.
And then with that, you're kind of pulled out of this vision and back to your real self.
Yeah. Uh. Right. Okay. Um. Did did Quinn stay at the tavern or did he come back?
He would have come back with you.
Um. Dourrebelle is gonna go find. So it's still daytime, so she's gonna go find Sovendal.
Hmm? Okay, so he's downstairs.
Uh.
I think his part of him is just like, what do you want now?
No.
I've not left yet. We've still got another few hours of daylight to go. I know you're keen, but I can't.
It's not that. I went upstairs, had some me time. That thought about everything. Um, when you go to wherever the Chimera crew is, um, if you see anybody particularly coming and going, um, I get one sec. When we met Argus before and his other boys, they were dressed in specific garb, weren't they?
They were dressed as merchants. They were merchants that had been murdered and then raised as
Oh yeah,
zombies.
they took over the merchants. But was Argus wearing anything in particular?
No, he was just wearing regular clothes.
Uh, when you go, keep an eye out for anything particular. Potentially, if you recognize anybody.
Who do you expect me to find there?
Um, I don't know if anybody in particular will be there, but I have a feeling that Talos is somewhere in the mix
Okay,
of
so
whatever is happening.
what makes you think that?
Um, I asked Moradin.
Ah. So a priest that is actually able to contact their god. You're either extremely powerful or insane.
Well, that's up to you to decide, I suppose.
I'm hedging my bets on the former.
I'm glad you have faith in me. Uh, I do have one question for you, though. As someone who, I guess, in the wake of my experience just now, if Talos said he would welcome you back if he dealt with those who wronged you, and all you had to do was kill me, what would you do?
Absolutely not.
Do I get the impression he's lying?
Roll an insight check.
6.
Don't know. He carries out. He says, absolutely not. He turned his back on me, and my allegiance was never to Talos. My allegiance was to Feralai Stormsworn.
That's reassuring. I'm sorry if that came across a bit out of the blue.
No, I appreciate that I am. I came here in tumultuous circumstances, and you have a storied history with the cult, and I've been less than forthcoming with my background, and I appreciate that there would be a level of mistrust amongst you and your peers. What you need to understand is that I did not join the cult of Talos of my own free will. I was indoctrinated after my home was destroyed by the cult of Talos. Feralai Stormsworn took me in as it was essentially that all my life. And at that time, I valued my life, and I still do. And over time, I proved myself as a valuable asset and reached a relatively high position. And there were elements of Talos's doctrine, if you want to call it doctrine. It was mainly just fights and shouting. But there were elements of it that did resonate with me, yes, but my allegiance was more out of necessity than out of faith. And I suppose part of me was waiting for some sort of sign, some kind of expression of acceptance or recognition from this chaotic monstrosity that we all called a god. Before I was willing to throw myself wholeheartedly. But I still valued my position, and I valued what I did, and I did it well. Which is why I earned the trust of Feralai, to a point where she entrusted me with Gadrill, which ended up being my undoing. And ultimately I did get the sign that I was looking for, but it was not one of acceptance or of recognition. Well, I suppose recognition, but it was one of destruction. Not destruction, of betrayal. Rejection. Simply because I maybe am a bit more shrewd and calculating than Gudril, and apparently Talos himself values. So, if people working in the name of this god see fit to destroy my home and my family, raise me under his banner, and then throw me away as readily as they took me in, I will stop at nothing to eradicate them. And I want to be there when Feralai is put to your judgment. I want to see her face, and I want to tell her that this is her fault. And that
I understand.
And that Talos will reject her too. And I look forward to that day when she feels the same pain as I did.
I'm assuming. I'm gonna assume that because of the passionate way he is speaking, that he is well.
You don't know.
No, but
He's a very good.
I'm just saying.
He's either telling the truth or he's a very good liar.
Yeah.
But either way, you're unsure.
I appreciate your forwardness with me. I understand where you're coming from, and I would rather be a force that presents an opening to get away from it. I know I've not done a good job of it thus far, but I would, if there are those who want to get away, I guess I would rather let them know that it's okay.
It's difficult because Talos is a
Wily.
those who choose to follow Talos either do so out of fear or madness. I've known, well, you've seen it yourself with the likes of the captain of the vessel that we used to return to Phandalin after you saved me. He implants nightmares of death and drowning into people's minds, robs them of their rest, and using much like the rain weathers away a rock, the likes of Talos will erode at your mindfulness and your sanity and your
Conscience.
yeah, until there's nothing left but a shell that's willing to do anything it can to preserve itself, or that simply revels in destruction.
Yeah.
You have to understand, Dourrebelle, that it's not all faith is the same.
Well, I'm sure in the eyes of some, my faith in Moradin is quite fervent. In some cases, it's perspective. In other cases, it's who you worship and why. I just wanted to let you know that whatever Merkul is up to, Talos is interested in it one way or another. So
That wouldn't surprise me.
We're going to deal. I'm going to deal with this Chimera crew problem, and hopefully that opens the way to whatever else is happening.
Very well.
And I will leave him to it then.
Okay. He goes back to his book or whatever he was doing. Shall we? We can. If there's, is there anything else that you want to do, or did you want to skip ahead until Sobendal has a report for you?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. So, skip ahead. It's a tense few days. He's gone for maybe about 3 or 4 days. While you're just kind of pottering around in town trying to gather any information that you can, but not really achieving much more than you already have. Sovendal finally returns and explains that yes, they do indeed have a. He wouldn't really call it a stronghold. It's a ruin of an old tower. What looks like maybe at one point was some kind of wizard base of operations, but it's long been ruined. Um, he couldn't get much. You know what? Let's roll and see how well he did. Yeah, he is uncertain if he got the entire picture, but he does know that there is a regular patrol around the perimeter of 3 members of the crew that kind of regularly go around the perimeter. There is a wall on the northern side that's broken, so that's a potential point where
Entrance,
you could enter. There is just a standard kind of drawbridge gatehouse kind of affair. It was essentially kind of built like a small castle kind of keep thing. So you had like courtyard. He looked inside. He did spot Sigurd. Sigurd was in there, along with his cronies and a couple of others. He didn't spot. He tried. He watched them for a couple of days. He did see their leader, who's a woman who seemed to be covered in what looked like burn marks. It was hard to tell at that distance, but she had some quite distinguishing scars on her body. I guess the immediate. He wouldn't say this obviously, but you know Balalaika from Black Lagoon, the Russian lady with the huge kind of scar down her.
No, I don't actually.
Okay, I'll send you a picture. But yeah, basically she had some quite large.
She's got some like crazy 3rd-degree burns.
Yeah, and that was all that he could gather. The peculiar things were, there were some strange noises, coming from the main building, like the main tower, and there were 2 like smaller towers on either side, where he detected some kind of like banging and odd noises, and it seemed like the crew never went into the southern tower, and they never went into the middle tower. It looked like they were barred off. The leader went into the northern tower quite often, and tended to bring more food than would be suitable for one person, but no one questioned it.
So there's somebody is in that tower. Perhaps the actual leader. The leader. um
So by my count, 3 scouts on the outside perimeter. Sigurd. Well,
He's
Sigurd's henchmen. So that makes kind of 5 foot soldiers. There were Sigurd and 3 others that seemed to be of his skill level.
yeah,
You skill level's the wrong word, but kind of like in terms of their rank.
yeah,
And then the leader. So they do have, for a bandit group, they have fairly significant numbers.
yeah, yeah. Because then there's the leader, and then there's potentially another leader. So
Someone
that's
or
like,
something else, yes.
yeah.
And
So there's
then,
at least 10 people, and then maybe another 11th, or maybe the amount of food is there's more than one.
needless to say, I believe that this is a situation that you should approach with caution.
I try to approach every situation with caution, and it never works. But gotta keep trying, right? Um, I mean, one method to thinning their numbers is to try to draw some of them away. Um, I don't really want to wait for Sigurd and his friends to come out whenever they deem ready. I would rather draw them out. Hmm. So you said that there was 2 towers that were barred,
The
like
main
that the
tower was barred
mm.
off, and then the southern tower was also barred off.
And then there was just like a building that they stayed
It
in,
was like a
right?
courtyard. So they stayed in like a courtyard area. They'd built up like an encampment.
So in a way,
I
whatever
mean,
they're doing is
based on his description, I'll just show you the map.
okay.
Um,
Maybe he did a little doodle.
yeah, it sketches it out for you. So that's roughly. So you got the 2 towers on the north and southern side, the southeastern side, southwestern side, sorry, and then the southeast is the main tower. You've got the gatehouse and the drawbridge, and then the wall that's crumbled inwards.
So the 2 side towers are barred, but the
No, no, no,
leader.
no, no.
Ooh,
Yeah, the 2 towers on the south are barred.
okay,
The tower at the northeastern side is where the leader keeps going in and
goes
out.
in and out of. Hmm. Well, how wide is that? Is that like a 10-foot river, or like gap is
Roughly,
10
yeah,
feet?
5 feet, really.
I think it would be nice to draw them outside of that, but it would be quite
I
difficult
think you're going to
because
struggle to do that. Yes, you might be able to draw
yeah.
away a small number of them if you were to say, I don't know, disguise yourselves as traveling merchants and lure them away.
I mean, I was thinking about doing that. Get the jump on some of them who see an easy opportunity. Um, but we would kind of have to move in from there. Kind
Well,
of,
I mean, if we could take a small number of them out, then it's better than nothing.
yes.
They're going to leave a an amount of them to cover the perimeter and defend their territory. It seems like as good a plan as any.
Yeah, I like that plan. Uh, we'll just have to we'll go disguised as merchants to get the drop on them, and then it'll just have to be a bit fluid from there. I don't know if there's an advantage to crossing where there's the gap in the wall. I suppose if their attention inside hasn't been drawn out, we'll go in from there. But if they do know,
You will have to.
there's
I think it would be suspicious of you to go up to the tower in disguise as merchants. I think your best bet would be to go up and down the road nearby and attract their attention that way. They're going to be very
oh
suspicious
yeah,
if a merchant cart shows up at their doorstep. Um, as for the hole in the wall, I would be surprised if they weren't aware that it was a weak point in their defenses and have done something to address that.
it could be potentially why they were getting people like my brother to give them chains and building supplies because they were probably trying to fix that.
It didn't appear to be the case. No efforts have been made to repair the wall. The wall is about 3 foot thick stone. It's always going to be a weak point, regardless of how much, short of rebuilding the wall itself. And he kind
Fair.
of racks his memory for a second and says that any efforts that I could see to perhaps reinforce or repair was those two southern towers. It appeared that considerable effort had been made to ensure that whatever was in there stays in there.
The chaotic part of my brain goes, maybe blow one of them up and see what happens. But then I go, no, that might be unintentionally screwing myself over. Um,
Sovendal would probably suggest that, though. If they're trying to keep something in there, the easiest way to distract them would be to let them out, whatever it is, and then capitalize on the chaos.
maybe we should see if we can source any explosives in town. I mean,
That
even
would.
mining explosives would be.
We're moving on to a different plan now, though. This is turning more into a stealth operation than
That's
a.
true. The idea of drawing the scouts away to be dealt with, I like that plan. Um, maybe perhaps letting whatever is in those out is something that can be done when we get in there. Or if we can't get in, we can do it from there, I guess. Does that make sense?
Play it by ear, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I've done my part.
Yes, thank you. Take it from here. Um, Quinn, are you ready to be disguised as a merchant?
Why do I have to be the merchant?
You don't have to. We're both gonna be disguised.
I mean, that's not the way. That didn't sound like the way you said it. You said you were talking about me specifically.
Well, I know I'm willing.
What do I have to wear?
We're gonna go shopping now. So yeah, we're gonna go source some uh traveling merchant clothes.
Okay. Well, I think now that you've got some more intel and you've got a plan, um, Sovendal is gonna say, I'm gonna look more into you because now that you've mentioned the cult and kind of had this discussion, he's gonna have a poke around tonight and see if he can figure out what they're up to and kind of keep an eye on that side of things.
Yeah.
and he's sort of come to the conclusion now of that's where he's going to focus his energies on doing that, because
Yeah.
he's just like, well, honestly, doing all of this, I didn't feel like my heart was in it. So he's gonna kind of focus solely on locating Feralai, seeing what she's up to, and kind of the actions of the cult as a whole. While you deal with this and things that don't necessarily pertain to that, like they probably have interest in it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't directly involve them at this point.
And I mean, in Dourrebelle, I mean, he knows that that is as soon as Dourrebelle, if something comes up during this excursion, if you will, that he would hear about it.
Yeah. So I think we'll leave it there for tonight. Um,
Gives me a bit more time to plan out as
yeah,
well.
to think over stuff, and I can kind of bulk out the things that I already had prepared,
Yeah.
and we can go from there. So, with that being said, thank you all very much for joining us tonight. We do this every week, every Tuesday at 8 o'clock British summertime, which is probably I think it's gonna change soon.
No, Sunday. Sunday
Sunday,
it's gonna be.
so we're gonna be back to GMT, I think. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, I think next week is gonna be a doozy. It seems like we're kind of building up to a big showdown potentially. Um, and this will go up on YouTube on Friday, and you can find all the VODs of our old stuff that we've done on there as well. So I do hope that you will go and check that out. My next stream is on Thursday, where we just generally hang out and talk about D&D and stuff. So yeah, take care, stay safe, and we will see you then.
Later.
Bye bye.